Right. Hi friends, in this video we will discuss for loop. So here in last session we discussed about while loop. So in while loop we write the statements like this. So I equal to 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. So whatever the program logic is there, that will be written inside the loop. So according to the program, whatever the statements required, that we will write inside the loop. So this part I equal to 1, this part we call it as initialization, and this part I less than or equal to n we call it as condition. This part we call it as conditional part. I plus plus is called as iteration part. Okay, so this is in while loop. So initialization, condition and iteration are at three different places in while loop, whereas in for loop, so here I equal to 1, this part is initialization part. Then I less than or equal to n, this part we call it as conditional part. Then I plus plus, this part we call it as iteration part. The difference between while loop and for loop is, in while loop, initialization, condition and iteration are placed at three different places, whereas in for loop they are placed in a single line, that is initialization part and with semicolon, conditional part and with semicolon, then iteration. So this is the only difference between while loop and for loop. So whatever the programs we have written in while loop, all the programs we can write in for loop also. So what is the advantage with for loop here is, so in while loop, as these three statements are in three different lines, sometimes we may forget the iteration part, that is I plus plus or I minus minus, we may forget. Whereas in for loop, as they are placed in a single line, there is no chance of forgetting the iteration part. Okay, that is the main advantage of for loop. Now let us see, as they are placed in a single line, how these will execute, how these statements will execute. So that part we call it as execution of for loop, how this will be executed, how the for loop will be executed. So in the for loop, first it will execute, the initialization part will be executed first. This initialization part will be executed first, and it will be executed only once until the condition becomes false. This initialization part will be executed only once until the condition becomes false. That too for the first time it will execute. After the initialization part, control comes to conditional part and checks the condition. It comes to conditional part and checks the condition. If the condition is true, then it enters into the loop and executes the statements of the loop. After executing the statements, control comes to then iteration part. That is third, it comes to iteration part. After iteration part, control once again goes to conditional part. If the condition is true, again it enters into the loop, and this process will be repeated until the condition becomes false. Here we can see that this initialization part is executed only once. So this is the execution of for loop we can call. Now, so both while and for loop, both in while loop and for loop, condition is checked before entering into the loop. So these loops are called as entry controlled loops or pre-test loops. These loops are called as entry controlled loops or pre-test loops. Now let us see one simple example using for loop. So here, so example for loop, example for loop. Here first include the header file hash include stdio.h. then int main, then declare one variable int I, then return one, then so here I want to display one message, I love India for 5 times. I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. So here use printf I love India slash n, then end with semicolon. Now save your program. So here I am saving the name with for1.c. So here if you observe, this part is called as initialization part, this part is called as conditional part, and this part is called as iteration part. So here this loop, these statements of the loop will be executed for 5 times and it displays the message I love India will be displayed for 5 times. Now run your program. So you can see here I love India, I love India, I love India, I love India is displayed for 5 times. Similarly, in the same program, suppose if you want to display first 5 natural numbers. So what are the numbers, first 5 natural numbers? Already we discussed with while loop this program. I want to display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 onto the screen. So in order to display that, so instead of this message, directly you can place here printf %d comma I. Now if you run this program, it will display first 5 natural numbers onto the screen. This is the program 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want to display first n natural numbers. Suppose if you want to display first n natural numbers using for loop, so here int I comma n, so that n value we should accept from the user. So use here printf enter n value, or you can write one message enter any number. So whatever the message we write, that will be displayed on screen. Enter any number. So I less than or equal to n. Save this program, compile and run the program. Enter n value 10. You can see displays numbers up to 10. So run once again, enter 20, displays numbers up to 20 will be displayed onto the screen. So whatever the value we enter, that value will be displayed onto the screen. Similarly, I want to display multiplication table of a given number. So for example, if user enters 5, I want to display the fifth table onto the screen, that is 5 into 1 equal to 5, 5 into 2 equal to 10, so on to complete fifth table I want to display, or that is nth table I want to display onto the screen. Now let us see the example. So here, now if you run this, displays 1 to 10 numbers will be displayed, enter n value. So 1 to 10 will be displayed. So here if you want to display complete table, so we should use n comma I comma n into I. So n is the table number, %d star equal to %d. Now if you observe here the table number, let us assume that if n value is 5, so here 5 will be displayed for 10 times. So 5 5 5 5 will be displayed for 10 times. At second %d, it will display I value. First time what is the value of I? 1, second time 2, third time 3, 1 to 10 will be displayed onto the screen. Then whereas here %d, at third %d, it will display n into I will be displayed. That is first time 5 into 1 5, second time 5 into 2 10, third time 5 into 3 15 will be displayed onto the screen. Now you can see the complete table will be displayed onto the screen. If you enter 5, it displays fifth table. So if you enter 7, it displays seventh table will be displayed onto the screen. Okay, right? Now finally let us see one more example, then I will stop for loop. Now here what I want is, we displayed the numbers from 1 to 10 we have displayed. Now I want to display the numbers from 10 to 1. 10 to 1 I will display. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, so on to 1 I want to display onto the screen. So here the starting value you should give here I equal to 10, then I greater than or equal to 1, I minus minus. This is important mark. Here, so if we use here less than or equal to, it should be plus plus. If we use here greater than or equal to or greater than, it should be minus minus. Now if you display printf percentage %d slash n comma I. So this I value will be displayed onto the screen. Save your program, compile and run the program. Now you can see here displays the numbers from 10 to 1. So in this way, whatever the programs we have discussed in the while loop, all the programs you can write with for loop. Few more examples in the next videos we will see in for loop. Thank you for watching. Please share and like the videos. Thank you.